franchising to me is going into business for yourself, but not by yourself, right? And so as you mentioned earlier, you have to be able to trust the franchisor. You have to be able to follow the franchisor's rules and guidelines and requirements for how you spend your money or how you build out your store or what product you're offering that day. And so like there's the guardrail on the left of this is what my franchisor is requiring me to do. But you also need to be entrepreneurial and have a spirit of how do I beat my competition? How do I get out into the community and create something that people are excited to be a part of?
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of Fran Coach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of Fran Coach and your podcast host. Today, we have one of our franchisor partners coming in today to talk about their brand. Sometimes we get to share some kind of new emerging franchises. Sometimes there's new little niches that pop up along the way. This is neither of those. This is a brand that has been around for 80 years, serving a level of deliciousness that isn't always thing, but a product we've known probably for centuries. I'm going to have to go back and figure out who invented this dang thing. Probably Benjamin Franklin, but great concept. I'm actually a pretty big fan of this product as a customer myself. Fantastic culture. And really, for as long as the brand has been around, tons of white space for growth for potential franchise owners. We're going to talk to them next, right after we take a quick peek at who Fran Coach is. Fran Coach is the premier franchise consulting firm. Our number one goal is to properly educate you on franchise ownership to determine if you should own one. And if so, we're going to help you find your absolute best fit. Our educational approach ensures we focus on the client's best interest. We are not here to sell you a franchise. In fact, we don't sell anything. Finding the best franchise to own is an incredibly personalized and individualized process that can only work with a team of experts focused on what is truly most important. That's you. Fran Coach, our services are always 100% free to use, so reach out to our team. Click the QR code or find us at francoach.net. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, folks, we are back on the Franchising 101 podcast, and joining me is a guest that I am probably going to go out of my way to be super, super nice to, because I might be trying to milk it, no pun intended, for like, I don't know, a free ice cream cone or something at some point. But we have Erin Snyder joining us today. She's the Vice President of Franchise Development for Handel's Homemade Ice Cream. Erin, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Super cool. As I told you beforehand, I am a consumer, a big fan of the certainly the products. I might have a little bit of a sweet tooth issue, and certainly in some ways I'm glad there's one not super close to me. Otherwise we might have a little bit of a problem. But thanks for joining us. We've got a bunch we want to talk to about this amazing opportunity as a potential franchise owner. But this is, you've been in the industry for a while. This is a people business. I love hearing stories and especially when I don't know yours. So I'd love to hear kind of your journey into this crazy world of franchising.
Sure. My journey into franchising actually started very young. I was in college living in Louisville, Kentucky, and I was getting my accounting degree. And I had the opportunity to work in the accounting department with Papa John's. So in Louisville, that was a really big deal to be a college student and get an opportunity at Papa John's. In that role, I actually audited expense reports for people who would go travel to do things for the brand. And my biggest group that I would work alongside was our international team. And every time they'd go on these trips and we'd be making progress internationally, they'd come back and I would just get more and more excited about how Papa John's was growing our footprint in these international markets. So about a year in, I was approached by the managing director of the international team. And he said, "Hey, my team really loves you. Everybody has great things to say. Why don't you come over and work with us and be my executive assistant?" And I was like, no, I'm getting my accounting degree. That is not the lane that I'm in. That does not make sense for me. And he was like, I think it could, like, just give it a chance. So I jumped over, got to work with the ops team, marketing, training, Fran Dev, supply chain, everybody, and just really loved the Fran Dev team, loved what that team was able to do, to meet people who are so eager to bring a brand that they have fallen in love with on their travels, or, they lived in the US and now they've moved or whatever. It was just so fun to watch how our brand was able to expand our footprint. So stepped in pretty quickly to a Fran Dev role, started as a qualification specialist, moved into manager, director. I think I spent about 15 years on that team and sold about 3,200 locations total. And then about, 5 years ago or so, moved down to Atlanta when we moved our corporate office down here. And for those 2 years that I stayed with Papa John's, I worked on the domestic side of the business, sold another 500-ish units on the domestic side of the business, and really just loved kind of watching us go from a baby brand to a big brand. And thought, hey, how can I apply my skills and talents and do that again? And the Handles opportunity came available. And there are so many synergies, really, between the two brands. If you think about, a simple streamlined operating system, product that consumers usually partake in groups with friends or family, as part of celebrations. And so I really just felt like I already had such a great grounding in the franchise offering that we had. I just had to learn the ice cream side of things. So took the leap, been here for a couple of years now. And over the last 2 years, I think we've sold about 100 parlors. This year, we've already added 20 more to the pipeline. So our team is rocking and rolling, and it's been an awesome transition, and excited to continue being in Fran Dev.
It's an interesting connection you made between pizza and ice cream. Like, tends to be group, tends to be fun, tends to be happy, right? For the most part when you're consuming those things. And just I want to make sure, because I totally LinkedIn stalkered you. So just to be clear, even though you were working in Louisville, your degree is from the school to the north of the Ohio River.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's the Ohio River, and I lived on the sunny side. So my degree is from IU.
Okay. Can you guess, based on that statement, what state I am originally from? So
I would hope Indiana as well.
Yeah. yes, indeed. So more on the northern side, but yeah, I that's where I grew up.
Right. So here's the big question, because I'm a huge football fan, and until previous year, the Hoosiers were not great at football. So are we both Notre Dame fans or no?
No.
Ah, man. I'll still get you free ice cream.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, and kind of where I grew up, that was like, it was, and there was, when I played basketball through high school and then college. I wanted to play at IU.
Yeah.
Apparently, that was a stretch where they were looking for players who were, what's the word, better than me. So I went elsewhere. But yeah, that was always the goal, and it was so crazy to see that flip, and how fast that flipped into basically like a whole football school and state.
Yeah, for sure.
So cool. So if you don't mind, I'm going to put you on the spot with this, because you told me a little story before we came on air about you get approached from Handles and you're like, who's this brand? And who did you reach out to for a that ended up giving you a great recommendation?
So living in Atlanta at the time, we didn't have any stores here. Our Southeast presence was pretty sparse. And so I got the call, and I called my mom, who lives in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was like, Mom, I got a call today from this ice cream concept called Handles. And she was like, Erin, she was like, best ice cream on the planet. And I'm sure if she hears this, she won't be happy that I say this part. But I was like, listen, if you can make my mom happy, if she thinks you're the best, you are the best. Like, her standards are so high. So I accepted the call, and then was able to go and try the product. And yeah, it was obviously second to none. As you kind of mentioned earlier, I think there's two pieces that are second to none for Handles. The first is the product, but the second is also the experience. And what I found in my research was the product is by far, head and foot above the rest, but the experience is also a way that we differentiate ourselves. And I loved how we're able to bring both of those elements and really be a unique concept in this treat category.
And it's a brand, so like from a history standpoint, it's not exactly a new brand, right? Like they've been
Correct.
around since like
It was
speaking of
1945. Yeah.
I was going to say, speaking of moms, when my mom was born is when they started. So I'll rat her out right here on this show for how old she is. But yeah, like, so it's not a new fly by night thing. Give a little of the story, the backstory.
Sure. Yeah. So Alice Handel, our namesake, where we came from, she actually started our brand. Her husband owned a gas station convenience store, and she actually started making ice cream and was just delivering it to her customers from the one location. And she did that for several years. And then about 40 years ago, a gentleman by the name of Lenny Fisher approached Alice and was like, hey, we need to do something with this. Like, you have this phenomenal product and you're so meticulous on making sure that the flavor and the ingredients are done well. Like, we need to replicate this. And the story goes that she'd actually been approached a couple of times by some other people that just didn't meet the bar for her. She was like, it has to be the right person. So she brought Lenny in, and there was I think it was like a 2-year apprenticeship where he worked alongside her, learning everything that mattered to her from a product development standpoint. And she finally said, you know what, I trust you, and I know that you'll continue this on. And so Lenny started out, growing the brand. I always say we were born in Ohio. So we're from Youngstown, Ohio. That's where we were born. And he really started growing the brand there through contacts that he had. And it wasn't until about 8 years ago that we really took off in what I would call like a typical franchising aspect. So all of our big growth has actually happened over the last 8 years. But we're an 80-year-old company. So if you think about the benefit of what we have all this legacy and history and proof of system, but we have so much white space and so much growth. Like, you don't find that often that you're able to have both sides of that. So grew up in Ohio, born in Ohio, and then kind of grew up in California. So that's why out near you, California, Arizona, Nevada, we have a lot of stores out that way. And then now we've started our national expansion.
And that story took place a long time ago because the two main people were named Lenny and Alice.
That's true.
So not seeing a lot of Lenny's and Alice anymore.
That's
but nothing wrong with those names, just not super common. And so so now as you're kind of in this role, and now, like, okay, you certainly have proven the product and all of the things, and now kind of from an expansion standpoint, talk about owners, right? So you're on the Fran Dev side, you're trying to find that match and that alignment. Are there any sort of commonalities that you're seeing with kind of backgrounds, experiences, personality traits that have kind of lent itself to becoming good owners for you guys?
Yeah, that's a super great question. We are very meticulous, just like we are with our ice cream and our ingredients. We are very meticulous in who we partner with as franchisee owners. Our franchise process is less of a sales process and more of a right fit process for both sides. We want to make sure that they're the right fit for us, but we also want to make sure that we're the right fit for them. Can they really execute against some of the parameters that we would be asking for? So I would say for us, engaged, hands-on owners. We're not looking for an absentee model. We're not looking for somebody that's just going to, stand in the background. We want people who are very engaged at store one and then build the team and work alongside the team. We also really want them to be deeply connected to their local communities. So we make sure that they live in market, that they have relationships and ties within the market, typically through families and children. They'll be connected to the schools or the churches. But we have just found that knowing their consumer and having those connections helps them know real estate, where should they put the location, how to market, who to market to, who are their customers, and helps them even with their employees who they're going to hire to be able to have the right employees that want to work with them because they've made a name for themselves.
No, I love how you talked about again, like it's not a sales operator. It's trying to find that mutual fit, and for anybody that's listened to more than one episode of this podcast knows how I feel about any sort of organization in franchising focused on sales. If we mix those letters around, we probably figure out who the hell I'm talking about. But doing things the right way and really trying to find that fit and the importance of I think one of the good things the IFA is doing right now is their whole campaign on franchising means local. Yeah. So just what you talked about, those owners being in the community, and it helps that you're able to own something that you're going to be proud of what that product and experience is, but really be embedded in the community and how important that is.
And I'd even add an extra layer of that. I mean, I know we have the Ohio and then the California, but we're also very strategic about where we're willing to grow. We have one franchisee in our system now who he's a large multi-unit franchisee of some other brands. And I think his story is that he called us like 8 times before we'd actually like called back. And it had everything to do with where he wanted to grow. And at that point, we weren't ready to grow there yet. And so we were like, nope, sorry, not time. And he's like, all right, I'll check back in 6 months. And then it was, are you ready? Nope, still not ready. Okay, I'll check back in 6 months. And so he was persistent. And we weren't just looking at the deal or the signing. It was, is this the right market for us to grow in the right time? And we wanted to make sure. And I mean, I think the success in that market with that franchisee has proven itself that we waited till the market was ready. We waited till we were ready to support the market, and we were able to really execute well together.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that was probably going to be more on when you were ready to support the market from a product standpoint, right?
Yeah, or even franchise support, our marketing team, our ops team, our training team. Like, we wanted to make sure that we could support the growth there.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something you talked about that at the beginning, and kind of the core of Handel's is certainly the product, but the experience. Give us kind of explain that a little bit. What is different about the experience?
Yeah, it's fun. When I originally joined the brand, and I went around and did kind of my market tours, and we would go, to locations and meet franchisees. What I found was pretty consistent, whether it was a walk up or a walk in, is similar to what we were talking about earlier with pizza. You don't typically come to get the ice cream alone. You're typically coming with family or friends, and it's truly a place where everybody kind of slows down. You put your phone away, you order the ice cream, you sit at the picnic table, and you're just talking about the day. How was school? Or, man, it really stinks that you lost that game, but you tried real hard, or I saw you make that one play. And it just really feels like there's a connection that happens over the ice cream. And I think we're just able to create a space. They don't hang out for hours. It's not a long stop, but we're able to create a space where everything kind of slows down. Everybody kind of focuses on what's right in front of them over the phenomenal product.
Yeah, and from a customer standpoint, the one I frequented the most is a walk up at an big outdoor mall in Tempe. The first one I ever went to, and I did not know what it was. We just happened to be staying at an Airbnb, and there was like, we need some ice cream, and Googling ice cream. And there's this, like, you walk in, and I remember walking in, my son he might've been like 8 at the time. So not certainly aware. And I'm like, what is going on in here? Right. There was an incredible line of people, and it was just like a random weekday night. But there was a buzz, and you're like standing in line. You're like, this must be good. There's no way there's this many people in line for the ice cream, and people knew one another. Like, it felt like you went back in time.
Yes. There's a nostalgic feel to it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was crazy. And again, that was with me. And then literally, like, is this place a franchise? Like, and kind of, doing the thing we do in the industry, looking that up, because I honestly did not know. And there's some stuff on the walls with the story or whatever, but it really felt like borderline, like being back at a malt shop or something in the 50s or 60s. It kind of had that feel, because people were just hanging out, and I don't know, it was a very noticeable thing. So to hear you talk about how that wasn't a one-off, that's intentional. Yeah, that is intentional.
And I think we do it in 2 ways, right? I think there's a sense of nostalgia in the experience, but we're also very intentional in the classical flavors. There are 48 flavors in rotation at all times, but as you mentioned originally, we have vanilla, we have strawberry, we have the plain flavors, but we also are very intentional in butter pecan takes you back, mint chip takes you back. So I think both the experience, but also the product just kind of does. It takes you back to childhood and it gives you something to kind of root in.
Erin, I feel like you just called me old because I told you beforehand I like butter pecan,
not.
and so you're like, oh, okay. So I mean, it would have been an accurate
How did you learn to love butter pecan, though?
Oh, so that's a really good question. I feel like, but you're right. Going back to a kid, I remember my grandfather like his saying he would have a bowl of ice cream, right? And so if you were over there at any point in time, it meant you probably got some ice cream. And so I feel like that's, but I mean, it has been my go-to, like if it's ice cream and they have butter pecan and I can tell you which places it's better than others. And, so yeah, that is like, I'm usually pretty consistent when I like something, I'm going to just keep getting the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
So it's either boring or consistent. I'm not sure, sure which it is.
What if your 9-to-5 job didn't last forever? What if there was a better way to create professional success, your way, without fear of layoffs or downsizing? What if I told you that it's all possible through franchise ownership? Franchise ownership gives you a proven playbook to execute, so you can be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. But with thousands of franchises out there, how do you know which is the best one for you? That's where Fran Coach comes in. Fran Coach will help build out your ideal business model based on your talents, skills, and core values. Then use our proprietary knowledge of the franchises to bring curated options based on what you want, and then guide you through the vetting process until we find your best match. Individualized, personalized, and 100% free to you. Ready to control your future? Scan the QR code or visit francoach.net and let Fran Coach help create your better tomorrow.
So talk a little bit about, now you talk about the owner and that being engaged and involved with this. I'm guessing the one simple thing people always get hung up on, like you don't need owners with years of experience of scooping ice cream, right? They don't need how to create it from scratch. You need more of like that kind of people, create that great experience person as an owner. Now talk about some of the ways that the franchise, you guys are able to help support them, and what's maybe one or two ways that you're like, hey, we're killing it with supporting our owners with this or this.
Yeah, for sure. So we have 3 teams, I think, that are in constant support of our franchisees. So I would think the upfront would be our training team. So a month before opening, we provide training at our one of our first locations in Youngstown, Ohio. And 2 franchisees, most of the time the owner and then either their operating principal or 2 of the owners, will come to the training in Youngstown, Ohio, and they'll spend 10 days doing both front of the house and back of the house training so they understand the full model. We like to do 2 because one of you has to be off at some point, and so you've always got somebody who's learned to direct and straight from that location to be able to take it back to your team. So that'll happen about a month before opening. And then 5 days before opening, we send what's called a grand opening trainer. And that person will show up at the store 5 days before the opening to be kind of like, we want the franchisee to still run the location and operate without us being too into it, because when we leave, they're going to have to know how to do it. But be there just to make sure that everything's stuck. And so as new inventory is being taken out and put into the fridge, are they putting them in the right places? As ice cream's being made, are they doing the right number of inclusions? As they're, working on scooping from the front, are they putting the right number of blues and the right number of blacks? And so the grand opening trainer is there to provide support and guidance and just really help the franchisee as they're training these employees to get ready to go. We typically will open on a Thursday. We like to open a little bit before the weekend. And so on Wednesday night, we'll have a friends and family, and we'll have a local store marketing coach that will show up along with the grand opening trainer on that Wednesday. And they'll be there to support anything marketing related. So if you're going to have, the department, the Chamber of Commerce come and do a ribbon cutting, they'll help you do that. If you're going to have influencers show up, they'll they'll help manage that relationship. For at a lot of our locations, we'll do first 100 get free ice cream for a year. And that line will start sometimes as early as midnight the night before. We usually try to get it to start no earlier than 4 a.m. But our marketing coach will show up and help keep that line in check and help make sure that that process works, because we know the franchisee is already overwhelmed with opening their first store and that they're going to need some support in executing some of those marketing initiatives. We also have a franchise business consultant, which is going to be their connection to the brand for always. And that FBC will typically show up to the grand opening as well. So at an opening, we'll usually have 3 support people there, all doing very different things. After the opening, the FBC and the marketing coach will stay in constant contact with the franchisees, coming to visit them in market, doing one-on-one calls with them, inviting them to webinars that are for the system as a whole, and really just continue to provide support, whether it's reaching out and having specific requests, or if it's a brand launch of something new that we announce to the whole system.
Nice. I love it. So we got a big old party going on at the beginning.
There's a big old party going on. Usually some of the rest of us try to show up too. So like we opened a store a couple weeks back in Thornton, Colorado. And I was able to be there with a member of my team. So I think there were like 7 people from corporate.
Oh my gosh.
They were able to show up and support the franchisee. But I think that goes back to kind of what you said originally, which is this is a relationship. Like we're very relationship driven in the customer side of things, but also in the franchisor side of things. And I wanted that franchisee to know how proud I was of them and that I was able to take time out of my week to come support them in their grand opening as well.
No, it's super cool because it should be a fun, like, look, owning a franchise is incredibly difficult. It's hard work, right? Like you don't just kick your feet up and let the franchise make you millions of dollars, but it should be fun also. Yeah. And to have that time. And I love how intentional it is of when you are starting and kind of opening, which I'm guessing is like, let's make sure we got our stuff together. And then now we're rolling into the weekend and hoping we've got like lines out the door and getting happy customers, and then they're going to leave and they are going to tell a friend and family or something about what that was like, right? For sure. I love that. Talk about the kind of the real estate component of this, because I know there's a couple different models with this, but what are we typically looking for, number one? And then secondarily is most people have never found commercial real estate, and that can be a tad overwhelming. Talk about kind of where you guys come into play on that as well.
Sure. Yeah. Great question. So we have 2 different modalities that most of our stores will operate under. The first one is a walk up, and then the second one is a walk in. By their name, you can probably tell the difference. So we prefer the walk up model. We do think it creates, there's a line outside. And so as customers are driving by or walking by, they see a line, just like you said, right? Like, hey, there's a line here. What am I missing out on? What's happening? And we've found that our AUVs are slightly higher at a walk up. Our customer satisfaction scores are slightly higher at a walk up. Okay. And so that is kind of the preferred model that we think gives the full experience that we're looking for. We do have some locations that, because, if you think about a strip center, the only way you'd be able to do a walk up would be if you were on the left or the right. Any of the middle, parcel sites would have to be walk-ins. Maybe it's a larger site, so you'd have all this wasted space. So we do a walk up as well, we do a walk in as well, where you'd obviously, any other model that you've seen, from a QSR standpoint, you open the door and then the line queues and there's a counter on the inside. In either of those 2 modalities, we can also add on a drive-through. And we have found that the drive-through model really just kind of opens up customer transaction a little bit, right? Is it too hot today? Does mom have the 3 kids in the car and she wanted to stop and get ice cream, but she doesn't want to pull them all out? And so if real estate works, that we can add a drive-through to a location, we have it made to where we're able to do so. In any of those locations, just like you said for the Tempe store, we love an outdoor patio. If it's shared, if the center that we're in has an outdoor patio, even better. Typically, those centers have concerts or, movie nights or family days or whatever. So if they have a lot of green space within the center, they're already creating the customer that you want to come anyway. But if the center doesn't have a joined, shared outdoor area, we typically try to find a place that we can put patio furniture and benches. So again, somebody can come up, grab the ice cream, go have a seat outside and enjoy it, and then carry on with their errand or whatever they happen to be doing next. So real estate's the hardest part for us, right? Like that's a tough bill to kind of check. And so we have a real estate team, and then we also hire local brokers, and our real estate team and our local brokers will work alongside our franchisees relentlessly to find the right site. And sometimes we say no to a B site because we know that the A site is the experience is what's going to be able to differentiate us. So our team has been doing this. I mean, we have 175 stores open currently. We have another 150 in the pipeline, of which we think we're going to open about 30 this year. So we've been doing this, pretty well. We're pretty good at it. Right. And our brokers now have started to know our brand. They want us in their shopping center. They realize the audience that we bring and that people are hanging around. And so we're really starting to get some good traction to be able to get those A+ sites in these markets.
No, I love that. And I think it's one of the things when we work with folks and they sign the franchise agreement, all the giddiest excitement. The first thing I tell people is, I need you to be dumb. And like what? I'm like, you're not smarter than the franchisor, right? Just you're buying into this system, trust them, smile and nod, do all this. And I said, if you have the urge to deviate, let me tell you where to not do it. Don't do it if there's real estate involved, because you're going to fall in love with something for all the wrong reasons. And it's the one thing that you can't change easily, right? Maybe in 5 years when the lease is up, but if you choose poorly, you may not make it to the 5 years. And it has everything to do with that, or you're going to pay too much, or you're not getting the concessions, or all of the things along with it. So the fact that you've got a team that knows what they're doing, now you're getting into the local market. Not that you don't want to hear the franchisee's opinion on things, because they do actually live there.
They live there,
but
yeah.
But if we're going to go out on a limb and say, who knows more about commercial real estate? You, Mr. and Mrs. Franchisee that have never had commercial real estate, or the franchisor and the real estate team. Just please, folks, do not. I don't care what brand it is. If there's real estate, just
and I can't tell you how many times I can think of one that's happened here recently where we have a real estate committee where our whole team will get on and look at a site. So if our real estate team is on the fence, well, we look at every single site and approve it as a group. Ops looks at it, marketing looks at it, our design and construction team, because if marketing feels like, hey, this site needs an awning, or if ops thinks, oh, I don't know that we'll be able to get, the ice cream machine in this, like having every subject matter expert on that call, we're all looking at it from such a different lens that we can call out things that maybe the real estate director might have missed on that one or wasn't thinking from that standpoint. And so when we get on real estate committee, we do those every other Monday, and we'll review sites, and we will provide feedback, and it'll be like, hey, if you can go to the landlord and get at least a couple tables out front, or if you can do this, or if you can do that, this site's a go. But if you can't, we think you should wait. And I know one specific situation where we told the franchisee to wait, and they were so eager to get their first site, right? They, like you said, they just signed their franchise agreement, and they just wanted to, what if nothing else comes along? And the second site that they ended up getting, they came to us and they were like, this is going to be so much better than that first site. I'm so glad we waited, So sometimes it just takes a little bit of patience, especially when you're looking for something that does have both product and experience, I think.
And again, I think it speaks volumes of the culture that are building, have built, and are continue to move forward. In that you're not just like, take whatever, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, you've got everybody collaborating internally on each of their little kind of pieces of the puzzle to make sure nothing is missed, which in turn is making it even better for your franchise owners when they're getting started.
Yeah. So, well, and I mean, our FDD shows it. We We've not had any closures. I can at least speak to the last 5 years. We don't have very many transfers. People don't want to sell. About 60% of our signings last year actually came from existing franchisees wanting to reinvest into the system to open a second, fifth, 10th store. And the reason they want to do that is because the stores that they have are doing well, and great real estate helps us achieve that.
You talked about like don't have many transfers, don't have like because people don't want to sell, right? And
they don't want to sell. Yeah.
We did a like when it was maybe a week or maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, a podcast literally on resales, because we'll get people that will ask every now and then, and there's a very misleading site out there about businesses that are for sale or you can buy on what's truly available. But in franchising, it's like there aren't as many because of that reason. Like they're going to, even if it's, hey, I don't want to work as much, but I've got the whole thing been running for 10, 15 years, whatever, and maybe I back off, or it goes to family. Or when the person does want to sell, there may be somebody internal in that system is like,
yeah, I'll take over.
I'll happily take that. I already know all the stuff and would love that expansion. So it's again a great point as to why you don't see a ton of resales in franchising. It's because they either don't want to sell or it's going to get passed to family or gobbled up internally for that. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. Erin, I want to fire one other, that's a lie, 2 other things at you. So one, Handel specific. So if there's one thing maybe we haven't talked about and you're like, oh my gosh, everybody's got to really know this about our brand, what might that be?
What would it be?
I know, I'll put you on the spot, didn't I?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've been super impressed. Like so many of them come in, it's almost hard to pinpoint, but I've been super impressed with our awards and accolades. Like we love our brand. We believe in our brand. We know it. Like we're in it every day. But here recently, Franchise Times named us the fastest growing ice cream franchise in the nation. And that was based off of, opening 32 units in 2015 up to 175 in 2025, which I think is like a 400,000 plus increase. Like that is, right. But like you said, 80-year company, but we did that, in such a short time. And then, our AUVs are one of the highest in the dessert category. Our FDD says that we're just at, just over 1 million in AUVs compared to some competitors. That's almost double some. So like that's a pretty big deal. But not only do we have high AUVs, our net income is right around 21.2%. And so like when you do a return on investment model, it's a pretty solid business.
Right. No, I love that. And not, especially if you're able to do walk-ups, and look, folks, top line revenue there's a little vanity involved with that. We got to get to the bottom line, but that's not a humongous build out, especially if you're able to do kind of a walk-up location.
Yeah. So typically our walkouts will sit somewhere between 1,200 to 1,600 square feet. And then your walk-in will be somewhere around, 15 to 2,200 depending. One of the things that you and I haven't touched on at all that's a pretty cool piece of the business is we do have a really large catering kind of program, right? So if you think about ice cream travels well, if you football game on a Friday night, birthday party on a Sunday, the farmers market, the event outside of the kids PTA program. So, we are able to generate some sales outside of the 4 walls and, take our product, whether it's in a small push cart or some of our franchisees have large, food trucks, but we're able to take our product out and have customers experience it out in the public. And then guess what? They come back with their family later, right?
Yes.
So
to me, and I'm glad you brought that up because it's the beauty that you don't think of something like this of catering. And it's it's the big ticket for whatever the event might be. But how many people did you just get in front of that didn't know you existed that are like, whoa, what is
didn't
this?
even know that was down there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Love that. Last thing for you, I want to throw at you, just franchising in general is you've been in this industry basically your whole life, right? So when you think of somebody's out there listening, right, is franchising for me? What's maybe some advice that you would give somebody kind of going down this path of becoming a franchise owner?
I think my first thought would be, and I have to do this from my side as well. So this is what I'm looking at when I'm looking for franchisees, is making sure you have the personality to be a franchisee. So franchising to me is going into business for yourself, but not by yourself, right? And so as you mentioned earlier, you have to be able to trust the franchisor. You have to be able to follow the franchisor's rules and guidelines and requirements for how you spend your money or how you build out your store or what product you're offering that day. And so like there's the guardrail on the left of this is what my franchisor is requiring me to do. But you also need to be entrepreneurial and have a spirit of how do I beat my competition? How do I get out into the community and create something that people are excited to be a part of? How do I, really generate this local feel and generate this local growth that I'm looking for? And so it's kind of the Goldilocks theory, right? You want them to be entrepreneurial enough to do the things they need to do on their own, but the ability and the desire to follow a system to make sure that they can execute against the brand standards that we're going to require for them to do. And some people can do one and not the other on either side, right? Some people are just made to be corporate. I just need to work for somebody that tells me what to do. I go in, clock in 8 to 5, I get it done. And some people need to just go create their own concept and be their own boss. But there's a lot of people that fit in this, where you get the benefit of being part of the brand. You have all of the experience of what we've already created and proven, and you're just going to come in and follow suit and execute well.
No, I love that. Every franchise is going to say, hey, we need somebody to follow the plan. And you're like, oh, I can. I know we all can follow the plan. Will we? Right. But then if you're also I don't know, you got a Handel's owner and oh, we ran out of napkins on a Saturday. Well, I don't know what to do. I just, or nobody told me I might run out of, figure it out. And have that design. And I think especially when you're talking, especially for you guys wanting those locally driven owners, that's the fun stuff. How can I get in front of other people in different ways and whatever that might be? It's a catering event or anything from a local marketing standpoint. Have some fun with that. Right. Yeah. And again, because especially for something like this is a happy, fun business, right? Nobody goes, well, I had ice cream, boy. I didn't have any fun with the ice cream.
Yeah. You either come happy and leave happier, or you come sad and leave happy. But either way, it's a joyful business. It's a joyful product. And yeah, we want to make sure that our franchisees are always eluding that joy to their customers on our behalf.
Not that we want to talk about a business that creates a happy ending, but this does, and it's the better of them, I guess, perhaps. But but no, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us about this. And what I've genuinely enjoyed getting to know more about. It's one thing to be a consumer, and then even in this industry to just hear the things that you guys are doing and the way in which you are doing it, which is how it should be done. So thank you for the pickiness and the selectiveness and all of the things you're doing to help your owners be successful. So Erin, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks again for tuning into the Franchising 101 podcast brought to you by Fran Coach. I hope these episodes continue to educate you on the amazing possibilities that can be achieved through franchise ownership. In between podcast episodes, if you still want to learn more about franchising and the ways in which Fran Coaching can help, there are a few places for you to check out. First, tune in to the Franchising 360 show. It is the only nationally syndicated television show about franchising hosted by me and Danielle Wright. Our TV show airs every Friday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Biz TV. Next, check out the Fran Coach YouTube channel, which is Fran Coach for You. You can find tons of franchise-specific content there. Plus, you can catch past episodes of the Franchising 360 show. If you like to read, we encourage you to check out our book, Becoming a Franchise Owner. You'll never guess what it's about. And finally, when you're ready to take that first personalized step and explore the franchise industry further, please reach out to our amazing team at Fran Coach. You can click the QR code or find us at francoach.net. There is never any fee for our service, so let us help you create your better tomorrow.